Hello and welcome to Marketing Matters. I'm Peter Applebaum. In this episode, we look to help you to decide when and how to change direction. With the rate of change accelerating due to technological advances and increasing customer expectations, business owners and managers need to be nimble. We need to be able to see the changes coming and pivot our businesses and brands accordingly. To help us work out when and how to change direction, we're going to talk with a corporate lawyer turned entrepreneur. And our expert panel have all faced the inevitable "what should I do now" question and have responded successfully. We're going to speak to florist dynamo Yvette Timmins from Bloom College, Zia Word from cryptocurrency sensation Chosen, and our one-on-one expert Prue Gilbert from Grace Papers. Prue actually was in the slipstream of a successful legal career when she decided to start Grace Papers. Her company helps parents navigate the sometimes rocky path of having a family and maintaining a career at the same time.
Women are graduating with more university degrees than men, yet just 15% of all CEOs in Australia are women. And employee turnover continues to cost Australian businesses some $20 billion a year. Report after report has found that increasing female participation in your workplace is clearly linked to improvements in organisational performance, effectiveness, profitability and revenue generation. So why is workplace equality still so slow to achieve? The key to unlocking gender inequality is addressing discrimination. To achieve this, we must challenge and defy outdated gendered expectations. But gender inequality doesn't just affect women. We believe the secret to empowering women to lead is to provide men with the flexibility and freedom to assume carer responsibilities. Our digital platform offers employees easy access to the Grace Papers programs. These programs take a holistic and inclusive approach that uncomplicates parental leave and makes flexible work arrangements accessible.
And thanks for joining us, Prue.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
So from corporate lawyer to entrepreneur, were you concerned about launching your own business when you had no marketing experience?
Well, yes, that was certainly cause for some pause, but as I reflect on the journey today, I think there are probably three reasons that I made the leap anyway. Mm-hmm. The first being that I had a connection to a purpose that was bigger than me.
Right.
Secondly, we really had identified a clear problem that was impacting businesses at the bottom line level, but also individuals in terms of their personal and lives and their economic prosperity. And thirdly, I found myself with a unique skill set, with the legal and the empowerment skills to be able to solve for it.
So you identified a commercial opportunity. Obviously there's a social opportunity here as well, but there's a commercial entrepreneurial opportunity as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So to that point, how did you identify that opportunity that gave you the confidence to actually make the leap from the salary to basically getting no salary?
Yeah. Well, being a lawyer, I was probably a little bit more conservative than that.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. And certainly when I made that leap, I had lined up 2 clients already before I even left the
mitigate
the
your risk.
Correct.
Excellent.
And really, started to leverage my network of great sponsors, senior leaders who I'd worked with in the past who gave me credibility to be able to on-sell what we were advocating for.
You've got some very high-level business leaders who have recorded videos and interviews with you on your website. Obviously that must help you enormously.
Enormously.
Right.
And it helps in a number of ways. It helps give credibility to me and the business, but it's also to the mission. And when you are selling social change for commercial benefit, you have to bring people on that journey, and you need those heavy hitters who believe in what you're doing as well and can see the commercial outcomes that come with it.
So obviously that's the key strategies to get those clients. You started your business with 2 clients. What are some strategies you use now to get new clients as well?
The new strategies, we do the traditional, you know, we've started, but
Pick up the phone.
pick up the phone.
What a concept.
And it really is very much about that relationship building and network marketing effect. We build really trusted relationships, and we find that that has a strong impact, so that at the moment there are more calls coming in than there are us having to make them.
Okay, which a lot of businesses would like to have that problem.
Yes.
Which leads us to the next question. Obviously, this is one of the things you use, the Grace Paper. You've got Grace Papers TV.
Yes.
So what are the main marketing strategies that you use with your business?
Well, the Grace Paper we introduced because we are all online.
Right.
And it is nice to have something to touch and feel.
Contrarian,
and
you actually have something physical.
Correct.
Yep.
We use the video and the interviews with senior leaders, which works two ways. You know, we're supporting them, but they're also sponsoring our success as well.
Okay. And one thing I've noticed, you've had a lot of free media exposure, which is incredible. I'm a huge fan of public relations. Has that helped you to grow your business?
Undoubtedly. Yeah, undoubtedly. And I think it's also helped us to educate our audience.
Right. So education is a big part of what you do?
Education is a major part of what we do.
Right.
And I will always spend a significant amount of time with journalists who are interested in the story to take them to the next level of their education in gender equity, so that we can get those commercial outcomes and solve this bigger problem together.
So do people feel that you're putting money making ahead of a social cause, or you're doing it well, you're dovetailing them nicely?
I think that we're probably dovetailing it nicely now. Certainly early on there was pushback, and there were pushback on for a couple of different reasons. And you know, one was there was a fear of discrimination. Potential clients didn't want us to be talking about discrimination in programs. So we had to take them on that journey, and then they had to pay for it as well. So we had to build out a business ROI for them, so that they could actually see the cost of not retaining females and not promoting them, and also that overall financial benefit to their bottom line of increasing diversity.
In one sentence, what's the future for Grace Papers? One sentence.
Oh, we're going to go global.
We're going to go global. Stand by. Keep in tune and go to the Grace Papers website to find out more. I'd like to thank Prue for her time and insights. And after the break, we speak to our experts on the marketing panel. Welcome back. To discuss when and how to change your business's direction, we welcome back Prue from Grace Papers, along with Yvette Timmins, CEO and founder of Bloom College, and Zia Word, co-founder of lifestyle and travel experiences app Chosen. Now, Zia, how did your background in technology, digital and TV help you to transition to offering a personalised travel experiences app?
Well, both TV and technology are both pretty fast-paced, right? And so they require you to be quite agile, reactive, and that's true of a startup, particularly a technology startup. So I applied those skills to the technology startup. But on top of that, you know, I learned from being in television that you have to know your audience, and you have to understand your audience, what they like, what they don't like, and that really has helped us in pivoting what we did originally. We originally started with business-to-business travel,
right?
And then we've now gone consumer travel. So that's really some of the skills that I've applied to the technology startup.
I see. And Yvette, you've had an incredible pivot and transition. You've gone from florist to teacher to, I guess, teacher face-to-face, and now you're doing it from a digital point of view. What are some of the things to be cautious about when shifting directions to a field you may be less familiar with?
Yeah, definitely is to find experts and the right experts that you can trust. So I guess, the caution around that is ensuring that they're not people that are going to take advantage of your lack of knowledge. But firstly, to combat that is to get the knowledge yourself, I think, is to start studying straight away on whatever that is. And so for me, I've learnt a lot about technology. that I otherwise would never, never had experience with.
So you've got a very deep knowledge of the floral industry, if you will. Now you have to have knowledge about the technology and how e-commerce works and those sorts of things.
Exactly, yeah. And so we have an app as well, and so that's been a really big learning curve. And learning that the new iOS 11, the old app didn't work with that, so we had to rebuild it.
Don't you love that?
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a really big learning curve from technology based and learning and understanding the online digital space with the websites as well. So all of that, it's just been a lot to learn, but I've really enjoyed it.
That's great. And Prue, we talked about obviously going from corporate lawyer to entrepreneur. What research did you do specifically before starting Grace Papers?
My research was very much focused around the problem that we were going to be able to solve for, and testing that in different evolutions through the one-on-one coaching before we actually decided to scale with the tech platform. When we did decide to scale, we did a huge amount of research, everything from competitor analysis to also the different technological platforms.
So face-to-face, you have focus groups.
All of that, yes, surveys.
Yep.
And we were also very fortunate that at that particular point in time, the Australian Human Rights Commission released a national inquiry into the prevalence of pregnancy-related discrimination. Found that it was rife, and we were uniquely positioned to support businesses to solve that problem.
Excellent. And Zia, did you test your change of direction before implementing what you did?
Absolutely. I mean, your most valuable assets are your customers, or if you don't have your customers, any customers yet, your network. So reach out to them, ask them whether what you're doing and what you plan to do is going to be valuable for them, whether they think that's going to be something that they would use, because you shouldn't be scared of that. You should understand your audience and know whether that's the right thing to do.
Okay, and Yvette, I mean, that's a bit of a leap into the unknown for you. Whilst you're in the same field, there are certain, every iteration is a bit scary, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Terrifying at times. and
you just push through?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's just about, understanding the needs so deeply, and from an emotional point of view, that it just drives you to want to make it happen and just learn and push through the process.
Okay, so what are the key marketing strategies from your point of view that have helped you make that change and push through?
Yeah, I think for me it's about being a little bit more EQ than IQ, and knowing that...
For the male viewers, that's emotional quotient, intellectual quotient, yes?
That's right, yeah. And so, I mean, we all make decisions emotionally based, and then we need that logic to back it up. But I think if we look at it from more of an emotional connection first and getting that deep understanding of the client, that's what's really helped me, being that face-to-face with them and being them as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Prue, talking about emotions, that's so rife, that's so inherent in what you do, the service you provide. Is it difficult to sometimes distance the emotional side of things from the commercial?
Absolutely, and that's where the education piece really comes into it as well for us, because often if you're pitching to a corporate client and we sell corporate licenses, if they've had a really good experience, then they don't necessarily see the need for it, because having a baby is such an emotional experience. So you really need to bring them back to the data points and take them on the journey so that they understand the business outcomes as well that they can achieve.
Okay. So what are the key suggestions you would have for business owners and managers who are looking to pivot, who are looking to change direction from what they have been doing?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back a little bit to what we were talking about before. Don't work in a vacuum. Talk to your existing customers if you have some. Test it. We do things, what we call in technology is A/B testing. So what that means is you're looking for the same outcome, but you use slightly different directions to get there, and you see what works best. Okay. So those are some key things you could do. Right.
And Yvette, final word on what are some of the key tips you would suggest?
I think stay really connected with either your customers, if you have a current base, or your target group. Just stay connected with them and really have those one-on-one conversations with them to get that emotional, I guess, or whatever the gap is that needs to be filled.
But you still have to take that leap of faith.
Absolutely.
Right. And Prue, final word on what are the key tips you would give business owners and managers who are looking at changing direction, pivoting, if you will, from what they're currently doing and thinking, oh, it's a bit, I don't know. What do you suggest?
I think understand what your expertise is and also connect back to that passion, and then think about who your sponsors are. We've had a lot of success through those sponsorship relationships, and we actually advocate for other women in particular to implement those themselves. You know, for example, a CEO who I worked with as a junior lawyer on a deal 15 years ago ended up being the chairman of a couple of the top 20 listed companies.
Well done.
He made a connection, introduction for me to the CEO of other companies,
Right.
and
Because he liked you. Because he liked you.
And
You
had
a
trusted,
relationship. Exactly.
correct.
Yeah.
And so I think about those relationships and step into that space and ask for support.
Right, okay. So coming up after the break, we hear from some of our viewers and the panel will answer some of their pressing questions. Welcome back to Marketing Matters. Now we're going to hear from viewers like you with questions about this week's topic. And right to our first caller, Anne Wine. Hi, Anne.
Hi, how are you going?
All right. What is your business and what is your marketing query?
Okay, my business is Clash Sports, where I'm based in Sydney. And I have a fairly specific question. How can I test my new e-commerce strategy on a small scale without investing a heap of money and building up an expensive store?
Yvette, that sounds like you're a good person to start with that question.
Yeah, I'd love to answer that question.
Yeah.
Thank you. My suggestion, Anne, would be to start with one of the free websites that you can build. So something like Wix.com, even Shopify have a free version. And I would be building that, and I would suggest that you do it yourself because you know what your customers like. And so it's a really inexpensive way. It only takes your time to put it together. And then I'd be promoting on Facebook and Instagram and just testing it out there. And it's really just your time.
And
Yeah.
Zane, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think going to platforms where people already are rather than expecting them to come to you is a great strategy. There are also things like Ticktail, things like that. And data itself doesn't have to be expensive, so you can test on those platforms. You could test with your networks, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of money on it.
And what do you think, Prue?
I'd have a look at what your competitors are doing in the space as well.
Do you have many competitors? Sorry, Prue, do you have many competitors, Anne?
Yes, plenty.
So pick the successful ones, look at what they're doing,
Right.
and start to see where you can enter the conversation with that audience and that market.
So what do you think about that, Anne?
That's great ideas. I've just jotted my notes. And do you think email marketing is still like the way to
A
go?
second
or you
question,
think-
cheeky. Email marketing.
Absolutely.
Actually, email marketing has very high rates of engagement, more so than you think it would. So yes, it's absolutely, if you can get that right audience to sign up to your email lists, then it's absolutely a good way to go.
Wonderful.
And also, you never know when Facebook and Instagram are going to change their algorithms.
Yes.
And at that point, you can lose your whole audience.
That's right. So you need to own your audience.
Own your audience.
And thank you so much for your call.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And now to our second caller, Greg Weiss. Greg, what is your business and what is your marketing query? Greg? Greg? We don't have Greg.
Hello, can you hear me?
We do have Greg.
Hey,
We had a bit of a technical malfunction there. So Greg, what's your business and what's your marketing query?
Peter, my business is called Career Support 365. We look at onboarding solutions and offboarding solutions for employers,
Right.
looking after their employees. My question is, if my initial idea doesn't take off, what are the best ways to find out what else to offer?
What do you think of it?
I would say just ask.
But who do you ask?
If you've already got a current group of people, then ask them.
Right.
That is just the best way. Just a very simple, 7-word email asking them what it is that they're after.
Prue?
Yeah, I'd be talking to your target consumers and saying, what is it that you're after? What's the problem that I can help you solve? And starting to think about how you pivot.
What happens if I don't have any consumers and I'm just launching something new?
I'd be starting to do the research. You know, we did surveys and asked people what their specific issues were. I ran workshops with my girlfriends who were all going through parental leave and those sorts of challenges at that time. Bribed them with chocolate and wine or tea if they were pregnant, and tested all my content to see what lands. And we still do that. A lot of one-on-one coaching to make sure that the content is solving the problem and get that live feedback.
Right. And Zia, brief final word?
Yeah, so I mean, we did a similar thing. In fact, before we wrote any lines of code, which is very expensive sometimes, we actually gathered ex-colleagues and friends and we asked them to text us when they needed something when they were on their travels. Really, you know, very manual thing to do, but it helped us validate the idea and it helped us understand what people needed. So there are really interesting manual ways you can do stuff, and start with your network, start with the people that are closest to you and the target audience.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, Anne and Greg, and I'd also like to thank Zia, Yvette and Prue for their time and insights on this week's panel. So let's review our key tips on when you should be changing direction. First, why do you need to change? Don't change just because you're bored with what you're doing. Only change when you've identified a genuine need in the market. Second, have a clear vision. You may be the only one that sees the need for mobile phones in a landline world. Once you've done your research, map out the future for you and for your market. Next, transition slowly. Fast is good, but good is better. Better to hasten slowly and get it right than to rush things and get the opposite result. Next, sell your vision. You need to sell your vision with clarity, passion and conviction to get all of your stakeholders on board. And finally, adapt and survive. Ensure that your business outlasts those that refuse to change. And that's all for now. Don't forget that we'd love to hear from you. Give us your comments, suggestions and questions on Facebook at Marketing Matters TV or via the website at marketingmatterstv.com. Thanks for watching Marketing Matters, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.